Folks, today I would like to talk to you a method or technique, a practical method or technique to realize the unconditional love inside you or in you, and also a technique to realize your real self. Immediately, probably you would have thought that I'm going to use any other concepts known to various religions. On the contrary, I will not use any of the concepts, absolutely nothing. Not only that, everything that I'm going to talk about, every idea or concept I'm going to use, you can practically test it. You know already what is that. So using the words that you already know, I'm going to talk about those two techniques. This is totally independent of any religion and is applicable to every human being, whether you are a Westerner or Easterner, or whether you're an American or Indian, and so on, so on. Or if you belong to any religion or any caste in Indian tradition, and so on, irrespective of the fact that you may be worshipping currently or you may not be worshipping any god. And this is totally based on my own spiritual experience after opening of my seventh chakra or after realizing the Turiya state. Nevertheless, I will not use any of those terminologies not known to you. I will use the concepts known to normal human beings, because not only I realized that so-called Turiya state or this opening of the seventh chakra, but also I really lived a normal human life, a family life, working like most of you, retired now, but struggling to keep up my job, etc., etc. And also taking care of a child, bringing up a child, and managing the immigrant state. I am originally from India. I live now in America, totally different culture. Bringing up a child in this country, in this culture, working in this environment about 40 years ago is not easy. There are not many Indians at that time in America as they are now. Okay, let's start. If you observe a child, not necessarily your child or any child, and definitely if it is your child, you will know it firsthand. The child, if you ask that child to describe itself, who are you? That child will not know anything about itself. It has no concepts to describe itself or herself or himself. The child cannot even understand what you are talking about. But the child smiles with a so divine smile, with such a divine smile that anybody will be totally attracted. And that child does not have the idea that I should smile at my mother. I'm talking about 1 month or 2 months old child. I should smile at my mother, not my father, or not another person outside my family. It does not distinguish. It does not distinguish that this person is same religion as my mother or father. It does not distinguish. It does not have, that child does not have any concept of religion, religious difference, any difference for that matter. I'm sorry that I use the word it sometimes. That's an Indian tradition of using, translating from Indian way of saying or calling a child. Here, everybody uses either he or she. Okay. Now, this child has a divine love. That is really the divine love because it is divisionless. It shows its love to everybody, everything. Let's see what happens to that child. When the child grows up, it creates an object inside inside her or his mind. In other words, it objectifies itself or himself or herself and creates a center or image, a representation inside his or her mind. For example, my father is so and so, my mother is so and so, I am born in this country, and so on, so on. You all know that. This is an objectified representation of the child. This is not real one. The real one is that undescribable one which was there, which is still there, but slowly the child forgets. The undescribable one which existed before all this objectification took place. When the child was 1 month or 2 months old. Not only it objectifies and creates a representation or imagines representation inside its mind about itself, about himself or herself. The child also creates a representation known to everybody, that is in terms of its body, child's body, known to all the five senses to the child and also others. So there are two representations, fake representations, not real representations. The real representation is the one undescribable one when the child was born. That's the one, that's the real one. These two are forced on the child by others around, father, mother, media later on. It divides itself or herself or himself using concepts like country of origin, color of the skin, race, whether the child is a male or female, and so on. So after these representations are created, the child uses only the representation outside in the body, in terms of the body, child's body, and the representation inside the mind. And believe it or not, you can test it yourself. You've forgotten totally that undescribable, lovable, the one with the undivided self. the one which has no division, which has a divine smile, love. And that is the unconditional love. Later, that love gets divided after the two representations, one inside the mind and the other at the body level, were created. Now, the child not only creates these two representations of himself or herself, but it creates similar representation, fake representation of others, father, mother, sister, and so on, based on what the child hears from mother, father, and so on. Now comes the very important difference. The representation that child knows about mother is not exactly same as the representation the mother has of herself. Same thing is true about the father. There is a difference between the father inside the mind of the child and the father inside the father's mind. This is true about your husband, child, wife, friends, everybody. Now, this is important. You have forgotten when you grow up that the undescribable one of your mother. You don't know. Just like you, your mother also is undescribable one. When she was born, or when your father was born, your father and mother would have been in that state, undescribable state. That is the real father, real mother. The representation, the object that you have inside your mind is fake, created by living, using concepts, divisive concept known to humanity. And hence, when you have your child, you experience that undescribable love when the child was 1 month old. But you forget that somebody else's child also was an indescribable or undescribable, divisionless one. Really, that's a real representation, real one. Now, what is called a life is all our life, everybody's life is based on the representation of yourself and others in your mind and at your body level using 5 senses. Nobody really deals with another or creates a relationship with another using that undescribable divine love, lovely child or one person. It's not, you cannot call that as a person. Indescribable, undescribable one. Everybody is using fake representation of others, sometimes incorrect representation of others, and live their life. So when a husband and wife live in a family, the husband really does not know the real self, undescribable one thing of his wife. He uses his own representation inside his mind about his wife, and there is a difference, and that creates problem. You can see that there will be fight sometimes between father and mother, that how dare you think I am like this? What do you know about me? You don't know anything about me. When there is a fight, not only between husband and wife, between any two individuals, that's what they talk about. You don't know about myself. The other person says, same thing is true about you. You don't know about myself. So the whole humanity is living using fake representation of themselves at their mind and their body level, five senses. Nobody really uses the undescribable one. Now, this is not only true about people, this is true about your God also. How, take for example, you are a Christian. The real Christ, the body of the real Christ, as everybody knows, everybody says, is unknown. But there is a representation of Jesus Christ's body. And that is the image, that is a representation. That's a figure that they see outside. On the cross. That is the external representation of Jesus. And similarly, you have one inside, your own mind, using various concepts in the Bible and also whatever the priests have told you. This is true not only with Christians, but also about Hindus, about their gods. Everybody says God is in heaven, in kingdom of God, but they have a representation of that one inside their mind and also outside in terms of various idols. Every religion has an idol. Hindu religion has too many of them. People can easily identify they have idol worship. But Christians also have idols. The Jesus Christ on the cross is an idol they worship. Same thing is true about Yahweh, Jewish God, or Buddhist God, or Islamic God. They have symbols. Symbols are nothing but the objectification of the real one, representation. The Hindus have a representation of Shiva or Vishnu or Rama or Krishna inside their mind. And that's what really they worship. And you can very well test that your representation of Shiva is different from another person's representation inside their mind, inside his or her mind. Even though both of them are Hindus, they are different. If you are born in the South India and your representation of Shiva is different from the one in the North, your representation of Ram, Krishna is different. The ones of the Northern India. You can test it. Very easy. Remember that God, real God, everybody says is beyond human mind, and it is in somewhere unknown kingdom of God. And that is the real one, which nobody knows. You can never know about it. But you have created a representation of that inside your mind, and you worship. You devote yourself to that. That is exactly the reason why there are divisions, because your representation of that unknown God is different from another religious person's God's representation. Again, there is a fight, division. Important point is, no one really deals with or makes use of the unknown God, the representationless God, nameless God, representationless God. But they use the one inside their in the representation inside their mind. That's what they use, or the one which they created as an idol outside. That is exactly the reason why there is a fight between religions. This is true not only at the religious level, but also at the government level, country level. Everybody has a representation of what is the best way of governing people. Democracy, communism. And everybody has a reason to say that their belief or their representation of how democracy, how to govern people is the best. And even in America, where there is democracy, there is a difference between democracy of a Republican and a Democrat. And that's why there's a fight, because the representation of democracy is different. In other words, they are also living in a fake world. Everybody is living in a fake world with concepts created by themselves and others inside their mind and inside that the body level. When you are fighting with another religious person, or when you are fighting with your father or mother or husband or wife or a child, have a difference of opinion and so on, it's always between this fake representation. Because these fake representation at the mental level and the body level dominate. In fact, that's the only representation people use to live. What has been forgotten in the background is the real one, the real undescribable one, when you are a child, or when your father, mother, or the person of another religion. No longer people are dealing with that. They are showing that undivided, divine smile, divine love to anybody, because they evaluate our others' behavior. The judge using others' behavior, using their own fake representation inside themselves of others. So, how to realize the undescribable love of a child, the divine love? Do not let the fake representation dominate you, the real you, the undescribable one. Let that one, undescribable one, dominate everything. Let that divine love, divine smile of that undescribable one come out. Let that one dominate. When that dominates, there will be love everywhere among humanity. That is exactly what will be established after the chaotic end time that is coming. Everybody's in every religion is proposing or projecting the end time, after which their God will come and rule according to their religious books. That will never happen. What will happen is that undescribable one inside every human being will dominate. Of course, you need to represent yourself at the mind level, the body level, because that's how you have to work. You need to work. You have to earn money. But those fake representations should not be dominating the real, undescribable one. The hatred, the fight, because of these fake representations of you and others, should not dominate. It should be subservient. It should be used only as it is needed for the normal human life. If this is understood, if you understand that all along in your life so far, you have been using fake representation of yourself and others, if you understand this, and if you understand it is because of this fake representation, there is fight among people, there is suffering. You will realize the undescribable, divine state of being with unconditional love. That is the way to realize unconditional love. Your fake representation should be understood. That is not really you and of others. Should be made subservient to that indescribable state of you when you are a child, and also others when they were children. What is the real self? That undescribable one when you were a child. That is the real self. You cannot say, find out who I am or who you are. What I've described in this video is the real one, undescribable one. It cannot be even said I am. It is undescribable. Folks, that's what I want to talk to you about today. If you have any questions, please let me know. I will answer. Talk to you soon.